This Wednesday, June 26th, MLB Betting Picks edition of the MLB Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. You can win up to 325 times your entry with their new Pick 8. Sign in with promo code MLB SGPN to claim your special pick and a first-time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. That's underdogfantasy.com. Make sure that promo code MLB SGPN. And we're also brought to you by Rhythm. Get the best data-driven props and picks from Rhythm. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. Welcome, everyone, to the MLB Gambling Podcast, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. Here to get into our picks for the Wednesday card in the MLB. Wednesday usually means we get day games early, and that's exactly what we have on the Wednesday card. We'll go through all the games. I do have lines right now as we are recording the pod. I think we're missing some pitchers for a couple games here, but we'll go through all the games here as we usually do. But joining me here to help me break everything down on the diamond for the Wednesday card, you guys know him as the voice of the Tennis Gambling Podcast, WNBA, NBA Gambling Podcast, and of course here on the MLB Gambling Podcast is Scott Studio Reichel. Scott, what's going on, my man? How you doing?
You're doing pretty well. I had a decent episode yesterday. Ended up splitting the lock and dog picks. Had the Dodgers minus 1.5 at plus 120 as my dog. No offense to Crochet. He was really good, but that was one of the worst prices I've seen in a long time. I think the White Sox closed at minus 115 against the Dodgers, and we know this is one of the worst teams of all time. And what do you know? The White Sox bullpen fell apart. So nice run-line win there by the Dodgers. Did lose the lock, though. Had the first 5 under in that Padres game against the Nationals. Had 4.5, it landed 5. So was that close? Didn't get there, but at least we won the dog.
Yeah, I had a pretty good day yesterday. I took the Royals on the run line minus 1.5, and then also had the under in the Mariners and Rays game for the first 5 innings. So that one thankfully got there. I know Brandon Wu left that game early for the Mariners with a hamstring injury, but was able to, or he did live the game, and he just landed on the IL on a 15-day IL for the Mariners. But nonetheless, it did get a little bit dicey, but the Mariners bullpen was able to get him out of trouble and did get under the total of 4.5 for that first 5 innings. So pretty good start to the week. Hopefully we can continue rolling that here into the Wednesday card that is going to be starting early on Wednesday afternoonish, if you want to call it that. Of course, early in the morning on the West Coast. But I did see a note, Scott, and I retweeted this. I had absolutely no idea that Dallas Keuchel was still in the league. I thought he had, I don't want to say retired, but it wasn't with anyone. But apparently he got traded to the Brewers. So hopefully maybe we get some starts from him and go back from Dallas Keuchel Day. I'm not sure if you knew that he was still either in the minor leagues or in the big leagues right now.
I figured that it was going to be similar. I'm assuming you've seen the movie Major League, right?
Yes.
So it's like the opening scene when Jake the catcher is like answering the phone in a sombrero, and he's like randomly in Mexico playing the Mexican League. That's how I imagine Dallas Keuchel, getting that spot for the Brewers. But yeah, I didn't realize. Good for him, I guess.
Yeah, we'll see if he makes it to the rotation there for the Milwaukee Brewers. But Scott, before we dive into the games here for the Wednesday card, let me remind everyone to check out the Sports Gambling Podcast as they've started their top 10 fantasy football preview series. The quarterbacks and tight ends episode is already live. So again, make sure to check them out. And it's never too early to talk about the National Football League. We're not too many weeks away, or I should say a couple months away from opening weekend of not only college football, but also the National Football League. So make sure you guys check out Sean and Kramer as they are doing their fantasy football rankings with the quarterbacks and tight ends already live. So make sure to check out those episodes. All right, Scott, let's just dive right into it, my man. We'll start here with the first game on the schedule. We'll go over to I believe this is the first start of the Wednesday card between the Seattle Mariners and the Tampa Bay Rays. Early start here, 12:10 on the East Coast here. It's going to be George Kirby for the Seattle Mariners and Ryan Pepiot for the Tampa Bay Rays. Looking at the lines for this game, I'm currently seeing that I believe the last time I saw it was around a pick 'em or minus 108 each way. Currently over on FanDuel. Total is set at 7.5. In this game here, Scott, what are your thoughts on Mariners and the Rays?
So overall, Kirby's been fine this season. We thought he'd be better. I know he's a lot better at home than on the road. Recently, though, the last couple road starts has been good. Now, he faced off against some bad competition, faced off against Oakland, faced off against Miami. I don't know if Kansas City is good competition or not, but they are good at home, so I'm going to count it as good competition. And they only gave up 1 run in that one. But Kirby has given up less than 3 earned in 5 straight, so he has actually been picking it up lately. And I think Pepe, it's fine. He's definitely better, in my opinion, than most people think. I think that he's actually pretty talented. I know his numbers this season have not exactly been amazing, but I think that at the end of the day, he does have some pretty important home road splits. And so far this season, he has actually been worse at home. So far this season at home, 5.36 ERA, and his road numbers are currently 3.46. So I'm actually going to lean to Seattle in this one. With Pepe, it's bad home numbers. I just think that right now, Kirby's in good form. I know Tampa did steal the first game. I think the series should be competitive in general. But I think for the sake of this matchup, I might actually lean to the Rays team total under in this one. Maybe first 5 team total under. I really think that Kirby's going to pitch well in this one. As for Pepe, it's been getting worse recently. He gave up 4 earned in 2 straight. Then he only gave up 2 earned against the Pirates, but that's cheating because he only went 3 1/3. So it wasn't like he pitched well. They just pulled him early and he walked 4 guys. So with that being the case, I'm going to go with Seattle in this one. Maybe Seattle first 5. Pepe I like, but I will acknowledge he has been getting worse as the season has gone on. And Kirby's been rolling. So give me Seattle in this one.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned what the early troubles were for George Kirby in his road starts, but even the fact that he's been pitching well, that the offense just hasn't been there for Kirby in his road starts, by the Mariners bat, and they've been underwhelming, honestly, all season long, and especially on the road, right? But 2-7 straight up is George Kirby, or I should say the Mariners are 2-7 straight up in his road starts this season. And like you mentioned, he has been pitching better here. So I think the look for me here would more than likely be on the under, like you mentioned, on that under 7.5. I wouldn't be opposed to a race team total under. And also, like you did mention, that they have won 2 of his last 3 road starts when Kirby has started for the Mariners, which were against the A's, the Royals. Last loss was against the Marlins, but again, like I mentioned, didn't get any run support there. So yeah, I would lean to the Mariners side here. Ryan Pepiot. The problem with him also is that he gives up a lot of walks. He's had 7 walks over his last 2 starts, and that's been a combined 8 innings. And you give up 7 walks in 8 innings, that's not very good. He also gave up 7 earned runs as well. But his last start, he was fortunate that the offense really did show up in Pittsburgh for him, where they did score 10 runs in that game. So it wasn't a loss for him there. But I think that maybe George Kirby's found his form on the road here. I'd go Mariners with you along with the under 7.5 in this game here as well. Getting over to the next game on the schedule here, we'll go to another early start here. We'll go over to the city of Detroit, where the Phillies are in town. Looking at the lines and the pitchers for this game, I'm currently seeing I don't see lines up just quite yet. Let me check another book here, but I did see that we had pitchers confirmed for this game. So for the Phillies, it is going to be Spencer Turnbull, and then for the Detroit Tigers, it's going to be Jack Flaherty. No lines I see officially just yet. Let me check another outlet here. This book doesn't even have lines up for tomorrow, but yeah, I don't have lines here, Scott, unless you see anything different. But if you want to get into this game, or if you're leaning one way or another.
Well, I think the one thing that right now we're not sure about is who's actually starting this game for Detroit. You said it might be Flaherty. I see undecided on ESPN. So that might be why there currently is no lines being posted. Assuming it is Flaherty, I like the under, first 5 under in this game. Turnbull's kind of in a weird spot where he's been good this season, but yet Philly hasn't really been willing to consistently put him in the rotation. And Taijuan Walker's been in the rotation. So I don't really know what the game plan is there. I feel like Turnbull should have been in the rotation for the last month or so. As for Flaherty, though, assuming it's going to be him once again, he's been solid. He's been really good lately. So that being the case, I don't mind the first 5 under. I see a lower scoring game. Revenge game, if you want to believe into that, because you have Turnbull going back to Detroit. But I'll go with the first 5 under. Flaherty's been very solid, and we know Detroit can't really hit. So I think with that being the case, I think Flaherty can keep this Philly team in check to some degree. I think Turnbull can do the same, and I'm going to lean to the under in the first 5.
Yeah, Turnbull's been pretty good. He's made, let's see, his last 5 appearances for this Phillies team. He's gave up a total of 3 earned runs in about, let's see, 6, 8, about 11 innings. So He's been pretty solid. The strikeouts are there for him as well, and the short outings that he has had for this Phillies team. Jack Flaherty, like you mentioned, he's also been in great form for this Detroit Tigers team, and more so, it's really been at home for him as well. You kind of take a look at his splits in Detroit. I'm sorry, he's been better on the road, I should say, but he hasn't been too bad. He just hasn't translated to wins for Jack Flaherty at home. 6 starts, 1-3 with a 3.82 ERA, but like you mentioned, his last several starts have been pretty good. I think there was one start where he did get into a little bit of trouble, but that was a while back. But other than that, over his last couple starts, he hasn't allowed more than, over his last 5 starts, he hasn't allowed more than 3 earned runs in any one of those starts. So one he did give up 3 earned runs was against Toronto. That's way back on May 23rd. But other than that, in the month of June, he's been really, really solid. Maybe not against the greatest competition as far as batting. I know the Astros were in there. He had a great outing there, but White Sox, Rangers, offenses that haven't been really able to be getting going here. So I think there's another under, depending on what the number does come out in this game. I'd lean to the Phillies in the game, but I think this might be another game where I do like the under between these two teams. Getting over to the next game on the schedule here, Scott, will go over to the NL Central matchup between the Pittsburgh Pirates and the Cincinnati Reds. Currently for this game, I think this was in one game that didn't have pitchers decided. Yeah, so no pitchers for this game.
I don't see anything on this game.
Yeah,
no pitchers,
so
no lines. We got nothing.
Yeah, so we'll just go right past this game here between the Pirates and the Reds, and we'll go to a game that does have lines and does have compared pitchers. We'll go to my part of the world, Colorado Rockies. They are visiting the Houston Astros. Ryan Feltner getting the start here for the Rockies, and it will be Spencer Arrighetti for the Houston Astros. Astros are a minus 196 home favorite, plus 164 on the money line for the Rockies here. Total is set at 8.5 in this game here. Scott, what are your thoughts on the Rockies and the Astros?
Yeah, I hate both pitchers. I think both of them are terrible. Feltner's 1-6 with a 6+ ERA. Arrighetti's 3-6 with a 6.36 ERA. The Astros are laying 195. I understand it because Houston's actually been better lately. They are 2 games under, but you're going through the recent performances. Swept Baltimore, and they also won 2 out of 3 against the White Sox, but they've won 5 straight. So I have to at least point out the Astros have been better offensively, and that kind of has carried them into second place in the AL West. Once again, a really bad division in the AL West this year. I think they're going to win this game. I just think at the end of the day, they're in better form. Colorado on the road is an auto fade most of the time anyway. Do I want the run line with Arrighetti? Probably not. I think they might cover the run line anyway, but I might just consider going with an over, or maybe just going with maybe even a Rockies team total over. You might be able to find a very low team total based on the actual money line price and just based on who's pitching for Houston. Yeah. It might be at like 2.5, 3.5. I just don't trust Arrighetti enough. Maybe first 5 over and just fade him. But I mean, it's in your area. You know how bad he's been. Feltner has been equally bad, so I think Houston finds a way to win this game. But I just don't trust really either pitcher to do anything in this matchup. So I'll lean over, and I actually think the Rockies might score a couple in this game.
Yeah, I mean, you just, however way you want to dissect it here, Arrighetti on the road, Arrighetti at home, has not been very good at all, to say the least. I mean, he gives up tons of contact. He gives up a ton of runs. He had 2 starts in there where was against the Giants and the Cardinals and the Mariners, where it looked like he was turning it around. He had 3 solid starts there. One only lasted 3 innings. But over his last 2 starts against Detroit, he gave up 7 earned runs. And last week, in his last start, I should say, last Thursday against the White Sox in Chicago, 4 1/3, 5 hits to give up 3 earned runs to them. Walks are also a huge concern for him. He's given up at least, let's see here, at least 3 walks in 3 of his last 4 starts. He's given up at least 3 walks in 5 out of the last 6 starts. So the Rockies are able to stay patient at the plate. I think they can get a couple off of Arrighetti here. I think the only look for me would definitely be the over in this game as well. You mentioned Ryan Feltner has also been really bad as well. Looking at his splits on the road, 8 starts, 1-4 with a 4.87 ERA, and the offense, at least for the Astros, has been humming. I'll give him credit for that. But again, it's just there's no way that Spencer Arrighetti should be warranted as a minus 196 favorite here in this game. So, I mean, if you're feeling dicey, maybe plus 1.5. You want to take that with the Rockies. It is around minus 130. But again, 8.5 would be the overplay for me here as well. between the Rockies and the Astros. All right, before we continue the conversation here for the Wednesday card, let me tell everyone about our friends over at Underdog Fantasy. Hey, Pick 8 is now live. Create entries with up to 8 picks, and Underdog will automatically double flex entries so you can miss up to 2 picks and still win your entry. With more picks to make and extra ways to win, the excitement's higher than ever. The best part, you can win up to 325 times your original amount. And you can now use specials and boost on all flex entries. Don't miss your chance to try it out before it's gone. Plus, if you're already a user, deposit between now and UFC 303 for a 10% bonus cash. I've been vouching for it, and here it is. If you're already a user, deposit between now and UFC 303, which is this weekend on Saturday, for a 10% bonus cash. So sign up with using our promo code MLB SGPN to claim your special pick and first-time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. That's UnderdogFantasy.com. Make sure that promo code MLB SGPN. And guess what? Since the NFL season is right around the corner, Circa Survivor and Circa Millions is back. Circa Sports is back with Circa Survivor and Circa Millions, giving away $16 million in guaranteed prizes. That's right, $16 million in guaranteed prizes. Of course, Circa contests have no rake. Circa Millions pick 5 NFL teams against the spread each week and compete for $6 million or survive the NFL gauntlet to claim the $10 million prize. Sign up in person at Circa Sports between now and September 7th and use a proxy to play from anywhere. We even have a deal with footballcontestproxy.com to save you $50 with the promo code SGP. Don't have a trip booked for Las Vegas yet before football? Ultimate Contest Weekend is a great time to go out, hang out with Brian and Sean, and enjoy some of the open bar events at the greatest sports book in the world. That's August 22nd through August 24th. All right, Scott, let's keep it rolling here. Next game on the schedule, we'll go over to a game between the Miami Marlins and the Kansas City Royals. Do have confirmed pitchers for this game, and this one might be an easier handicap even without any lines for this game. So we have Trevor Rogers, left-handed pitcher for the Miami Marlins, and it'll be Brady Singer for the Kansas City Royals. Let me update the page here, and if I did get lines for this game. Let me just quickly refresh here. Yeah, no lines just yet here, but Rogers versus Singer is what I'm seeing here. You have any thoughts on this matchup here, Scott?
Well, the Royals are going to be laying a ton, and they've been in bad form lately. They won the first game 4-1, so I think that they're probably going to be the play on the run line, but if I was trying to find a different play that'd be a bit cheaper maybe, I don't mind the under, actually, in this game. I know Rogers is not a good pitcher. I'm aware of it. His numbers are not good this season. However, I want to at least mention Kansas City's offense, which has completely fallen off a cliff over the last couple of weeks. Even in that win yesterday, Munoz isn't any good. And Munoz was able to do decently against this offense, which tells you how bad the team's been. But Kansas City, I'm going to read off the run totals over the last week or so. 4-0, 0-2, 3-1, 5-0. So, yeah, they've been doing nothing offensively for about a week straight. So with that being the case, I don't mind the under. I think Singer can pitch okay against this team. Miami's been better lately, but I still don't think this team is very good by any means. I'll go with the under in this one. I think Kansas City probably wins the game, but I am going to go with the under. I just don't trust Kansas City's offense to do anything. And with that being the case, I do think that the total might be a bit high based on Kansas City being at home. It's in the summertime. We have seen some high numbers for Kansas City home games. I'll go with the under, whatever number that might be.
Yeah, I was watching this game yesterday between the Royals and the Marlins, and I want to say it was the second or third time through the lineup, and it was just one inning where they got a majority of their runs. Rather, in fact, it was back-to-back home runs by the Royals, and they were able to get a couple more hits and bring one more around, and I think Hunter Renfroe added one late to get them that 4-1 victory. But yeah, like you mentioned, this offense right now has not been producing anything over the last, we could probably say a month or so, even at least a few weeks at minimum. Trevor Rogers, we know the story. The Marlins just don't win games where he's starting. And just to put in perspective, 15 starts he's made this season, 2-13 are the Marlins in those starts. They're 3-9 on the +1.5. So take that for what it's worth. I'd probably look at a first 5, maybe run line. I think that might even be juice for the Kansas City Royals, asking them to get a couple or maybe even have a 2-1 type of lead against Trevor Roger. I don't think it's a tall order for them, but again, that line's probably going to be maybe north of -150 when that line does pop up for the Royals. So maybe this might be a game where their offense breaks out, but I think we're all still kind of waiting for it. Brady Singer has been pretty solid for the Royals at home. They're 6-2 straight up. Let's see, 5-3 against the money line. They've done pretty well in the first 5 as well with Brady Singer on the mound. 4-2-2 to be exact on that first 5 money line straight up. So Royals first 5 money line would be the look. I think maybe the popular play would probably be the Royals on the run line, like you mentioned, full game -1.5. But I'll trim it down to the first 5 innings here for the Royals run line. All right, next game on the schedule here, we'll go over to the Texas Rangers. They are in Milwaukee to take on the Brewers. Looking at the lineup for this game, Nathan Eovaldi gets the start here for the Rangers. It'll be Colin Ray for the Brewers. -108 on both money line plays here, so around to pick them. And it will be a total of 8.5 in this game here, Scott. Rangers and Brewers.
Yeah, I think Eovaldi's better than Rhea, but I do think the Brewers are the much better team. So I think based on the price we're actually getting, I don't mind the Brewers -110. The Rangers had won about 4 straight against Kansas City, coincidentally. 3 of them, and they beat the Mets in the series finale. The Royals series, I don't know if I'm even going to count because they scored no runs in the last 21 innings. Kansas City's just in free fall. So I feel like that was more of Kansas City being bad than Texas figuring it out.
Yeah,
I don't think this team's very good. And Milwaukee, once again, is being disrespected here. Rhea, I might not be a big fan of, but I can't argue with the numbers. He's 6-2 with a 3.62 ERA. It's -110. Rangers are 5 under on the road. Milwaukee is 11 over at home. I think Milwaukee's the better team, and I think we'd agree the record makes it look obvious. So even though I do like Eovaldi, I do think there's value on Milwaukee here. So I'll take Milwaukee. They won the first game of the series, I think 6-3. In Milwaukee, -110.
Yeah, Eovaldi, it's been a tale of looking at his splits, right? At home in Texas and Arlington. Excuse me. He's been really good. But on the road is where he has gotten into trouble. And just to put the numbers in perspective here, at home, 8 starts, 3-0, 2.22 ERA, 4 road starts, 1-3 with a 5.06 ERA. So almost 2.5 times double the ERA on the road for Nathan Eovaldi. And the Rangers on the road, when he does make his starts, 1-3 straight up. And in the first 5 innings in particular, they're 0-3-1. So if you want to look at the Brewers early, couldn't talk you off of that. Nathan Eovaldi has given up at least 3 or an average of 3 runs in the first 5 innings in his road starts. And they have been almost winning those first 5 by at least 2 runs. The team has only been averaging 1.25 runs in those first 5 innings for Nathan Eovaldi on the road in particular. So yeah, Brewers would be the look here for me as well. First 5 inning money line as well for the Brewers. Couldn't talk you off of that if you wanted to go that way with the Brewers against Nathan Eovaldi on the road here. All right, getting over to the next game on the schedule, we'll go over to the West Coast. We have the Oakland A's. They are in Anaheim to take on the Angels. Looking at the lines for this game, I don't see a pitcher for the Angels, but it'll be Joey Estes for the Oakland A's. And I see Mr. Undecided for the Angels. Anything on this game? I know we don't have a pitcher for the Angels, but not the greatest series to start the week here, so Scott.
Yeah, I guess I'm going to have to lean to the Angels because Estes this season has an 8.02 ERA on the road. We saw the Angels win the first game. We know Oakland's a lot better at home than on the road. So I just don't trust this team on the road. And the Angels are not a good team at home either, but they won the first game of the series comfortably. I mean, the Oakland couldn't even hit Canning. Canning's been terrible this season.
Yeah.
Like, that's probably not a good look. I'll go with the Angels. At least they can run. They have some things that they can rely on besides home runs. Oakland really doesn't have that. I think the Angels are better at manufacturing runs. Maybe not by a lot, but just based on the overall matchup. Estes is that bad on the road, I can't really trust him. So I'll just go with the Angels, but no way I'm going to bet this until I see a line.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it. It's just 1-4 straight up on the road are the Oakland A's in his road starts, giving up an average of almost close to 5.5 runs in those road starts. And I want to say they've lost, 4 straight starts that he's made on the road. Been against decent competition, Astros, Rays, Padres, and the Twins, but definitely not a pitcher I want to back right now, especially on the road here. So we'll move past this one. We'll go over to the next game on the schedule. We'll go over to the Washington Nationals. They are in San Diego to take on the Padres. Currently seeing DJ Hurst getting the start here for the Nationals, and it will be Dylan Cease for the San Diego Padres. Lines for this game, I'm seeing the Padres are a minus 190 home favorite, plus 160 on the money line for the Washington Nationals. Total is at 7.5 in this game here. Scott, what are your thoughts on the Nats and the Padres?
So the Padres came back in miraculous fashion and ended up winning on on Monday. Tatis though was put on the IR, IL. I mean IR.
Yeah.
Yeah. My mind's already on football. Put on the IL, so he's not going to be available for at least the next week. It's a massive price. I know that Hers has kind of had an up and down start to the season, as he was unbelievable in one outing and he was really not good in the other one. But I think Cease is overvalued in basically every start that he makes. I still don't think Cease is that great of a pitcher. I think he's good. I'm not telling you that he's full, but the one really bad outing that Hers had was in Coors, and he was bad against the Mets in his first start this season. So I'm going to give him a pass with Coors. They won the game anyway by 6 runs. So the Nationals have actually done well. They've won each of his last 3 outings by at least 3 runs. Point is, though, I just don't trust Cease enough. I think 190 is a massive price. Tatis is one of, if not obviously, their best player, and he's out. So I'm actually going to lean to Washington. I think if Washington did not blow the opener with the bullpen yesterday, maybe the line's a bit different. But I think 190 with Cease is too high. I know that he, once again, is a more proven commodity than Hers, but I think this price is massive. I'm going to lean to Washington.
Yeah, Washington on the road especially has been really feisty. Dylan Cease has been mediocre, I guess we can say. Definitely been up and down. There just hasn't been much consistency. I think that his splits are also indicating that. I mean, 3 and 4. So you're not sure what you're going to get out of him. And now for an offense that was already struggling a bit, I know they've been without Bogarts for a while. Now you have Fernando Tatis Jr. That's going to be on the IL. So that's 2 of your better bats that are not going to be in the lineup here. So, I mean, I would look at, and like you mentioned, it's strictly based off the price here. I don't think that Dylan Cease should be warranted as a minus 190 favorite here. If you want to look at the run line, plus 1.5 for the National, that's at minus 130. I definitely think there's a lot of value on the Nationals at plus 160 for this game. All right, before we get over to the next game on the schedule here, let me tell everyone about our friends over at Rhythm. If you're betting on player props, then you need to download Rhythm. Rhythm is the go-to sports betting tool that transforms complex data into actionable insights, empowering bettors with smarter data-driven decisions, unlike any other platforms. Rhythm combines advanced predictive analytics with an intuitive user experience, making betting both easy and enjoyable. Rhythm's predictive models were born from the brains of MIT data scientists and quants with over 3 years of data that help drive you to better AI-backed betting decisions. Claim your 7-day free trial by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. All right, Scott, let's keep it rolling here. We'll go over to the evening slate of schedules for the Wednesday card. We'll start off here with the Cleveland Guardians. They are in Baltimore to take on the Orioles. Looking at the starting pitchers for this game, it'll be Carlos Carrasco for the Guardians, and it'll be Grayson Rodriguez for the Baltimore Orioles. Orioles are a minus 180 home favorite here, plus 152 on the money line for the Guardians. Total is at 9.5 in this game. What are your thoughts on the Guardians and the Orioles?
Well, Cleveland's been on fire. They had a good win in the series opener yesterday. Rodriguez was in great form, and then Houston killed him. Scored 7 runs against him in 5 innings. He is at home, though. So far, the season does have a 2.21 ERA at home. I think I have to go with the Orioles' first 5 -0.5. I'm just anti-Carrasco. I don't think he's any good. And I think you make the argument that Mets fans would agree he's been washed for about, I don't know, 1.5 years at this point, 2 years at this point. He's just not very good. I think Rodriguez had one bad outing, but I do think that returning home is going to help him here. Cleveland, I acknowledge, has been great. I'm not going to, dismiss how good they've been, and I'm not trying to sweep it under the rug. I'm aware Cleveland's been a great team so far this season. But Carrasco keeps getting starts, and I still don't think he's any good. So with that being the case, I'm going to look at the actual spot itself. 5.95 ERA on the road, by the way. So Carrasco has been better at home than on the road. He was great last time out against Toronto. That was at home. Last 2 road starts, 5 innings, 5 runs against the Blue Jays, 4 2/3, 2 runs against the Marlins. And the start before that, 5 innings, 2 runs against the Rangers on the road. Point is, he's been better lately on the road, but I still think he's definitely the worst pitcher in this matchup by a wide margin. Give me Rodriguez at home. I think Grayson bounces back.
Yeah, exactly what you mentioned. I mean, Grayson Rodriguez at home has been really good. First 5 innings, you mentioned it, that he's been, pitching very well, holding opponents to only 1.33 runs per game in the first 5 innings. They're 4-1-1 straight up in the first 5 innings, and they're 4-2 on the run line, -0.5 in the first 5 innings as well when he's on the mound here. So yeah, you mentioned it's a hot team coming in with the Guardians, but you definitely have the better pitcher here. Do expect Grayson Rodriguez to bounce back after, like you mentioned, what the Astros did to him in that last start in Houston. But at home he's been a different animal, and now Camden Yards is more of a pitcher's ballpark after the adjustments that they had made. Last season, a season prior to the outfield. So do expect Grayson Rodriguez to bounce back here. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it for this game. Yeah, I also did want to mention the first 5 innings as well, just to back up your point. Carlos Carrasco 2-6 straight up. They are 2-4 as the underdog in those first 5 innings. So I think that first 5 innings run line is a great look here for the Orioles. Do expect the bats to get to Carrasco early in this game, and maybe Grayson Rodriguez can cruise after that. Getting over to the next game on the schedule, we'll go over to the Subway Series on Wednesday evening. It will be the New York Yankees. They are in Citi Field to take on the Mets. Looking at the pitching matchup for this game, it'll be Lewis Heel for the New York Yankees, and it'll be Sean Manaea for the New York Mets. Lines for this game, I am currently seeing that the Yankees are a -138 road favorite here, +118 on the money line for the New York Mets. Total is at 8.5 in this game here, Scott. Mets and Yankees.
So the Yankees have been struggling lately. I think that these struggles have been blown out of proportion, though. They're right now, the Yankees are completely falling apart, that there's no chance that they'll do anything, and I believe they're still in first place. So people need to calm down a little bit. Like, I'm aware that this team has been struggling, but there are 162 games in a season. Like, calm down. You can be bad for like 2 weeks. It's fine. Like, I'm not going to fully panic. Stan those on the IL. What else is new? Rizzo's out, so they are a bit shorthanded, and the bullpen's kind of been falling apart recently. Having said that, Heel was really bad his last outing. That was the first bad start he's had all year. He was in the AL Cy Young running, and then whatever happened last start happened, and now his numbers are still good, but they definitely aren't as good as they used to be. Because last start, he ended up giving up 7 earned against Baltimore. Then again, Baltimore's also really good, so you can factor that in too. But the point is, he was great, and then he was awful against Baltimore last time out. So far the season on the road, though, 2.48 ERA, so he has been solid. The Grimace Mets have been good. They have not been undefeated anymore. They have lost a couple times after we talked about them last week. Manaea's fine. I don't think he's that great. I think I would lean to the Yankees, though. I still think the Yankees are the better team. I know the Mets have been playing better baseball recently for the last couple weeks, but the Yankees lost a series to Baltimore, and you're looking at who they played recently, they have had some tough competition. I'm not going to suddenly, chalk it up to the Yankees automatically being in free fall. Facing the Red Sox, who are actually 7 over. Like, the Red Sox are not that bad. It might be a playoff team. Baltimore, who is one of the better teams in the entire league, and Atlanta, who I know is injured, but still a playoff team too. So they've lost series to 3 straight playoff teams. Like, I'm not going to suddenly panic and tell you that this team is going to continue falling off a cliff. The Mets, I think, are once again a decent team based on what we've seen, but the Yankees are better, at least based on record, based on talent, etc. And I think Heel, assuming last outing was a fluke against a top 3 offense in the league, I think he's better than Manaea. I think we'd agree on that. So I'm going to lean to the Yankees. I think that minus 138 or so is a cheap price. I know people might be scared of it because of recent form, but the Yankees are the better team. I think we'd agree on that. And based on the price, it does seem a bit cheap. So I think the Yankees minus 138 actually has some value.
Yeah, I mean, by far, not even close, that Luis Heel coming off the worst start of the season. And I mean, look, there was going to be a start where it was going to happen. I mean, for the way that this guy was pitching, was going to be able to sustain that throughout the entire season. So it happened against the Baltimore Orioles, and they were swinging a hot bat in that series all weekend long. And it's just a fact of who do you trust more, like you mentioned. Is it Luis Heel or is it Sean Manaea? Manaea hasn't been in great form either. He did have one great start against the Padres, but we just talked about Padres offense being really inconsistent. But against the Diamondbacks, he gave up 5 earned runs. Did have 10 strikeouts in that game, but gave up 5 earned runs. Followed that up against the Phillies, 6 earned runs that he gave up, only lasted 3 1/3. Just mentioned the Padres, and then he had his last start against the Texas Rangers, where he went 5 2/3, gave up 3 earned runs, 6 strikeouts, and 3 walks. So I think there's a good bounce back spot here for Luis Heel. I mean, like we mentioned, was in conversation for even Cy Young, let alone the Rookie of the Year in the American League here. But you know, every team is going to go through that funk, and they're going to go through a stretch where they're not winning games, and that's just part of playing 162 games. You can expect teams like the Yankees, who have been really great all season long, to continue the way that they've been playing. So you're going to have those moments where they're going to be in a slump, and you know, Orioles are in that slump. The Yankees were in that slump as well right now. So I do think that you're getting a discounted price here on the Yankees. They're on minus 138. So I do expect Luis Heel to bounce back here. If you want to take them first 5 or full game, you'll get all 9 at bats with the Yankees. So couldn't talk you off of that here for the New York Yankees on the money line.
I do want to point out, by the way, while the Mets were going on that very solid Grimace run, I want to point out who they've actually played against.
Yeah.
They played the Marlins. We know the Marlins aren't any good. Played San Diego. We know this team should be better than they are, but they have not been very good this season. The Rangers have underachieved. They won 2 out of 3 there. And they won 2 out of 3 against the Cubs, who blew another game yesterday because they don't have a bullpen. So the Mets were on a good run, but I think part of it was also based on the schedule because they haven't really faced off against any objectively good teams during that stretch. Sure. They stole the final game against the Phillies in London, and again, they probably should have lost. But the point is, they really didn't play any good teams. And I'm not saying that I'm going to write off the entire streak because of the competition, but I am going to point out that the Mets went from being a struggling team to being kind of an overrated team based on being on a phenomenal stretch against bad competition. The Yankees are a step up in competition. Whether you want to admit that they have been on I'd say a recent downswing, I'm not going to argue with you. I agree with you. But the Yankees are better than every team I just listed by a wide margin on that schedule for the Mets. Yeah. So once again, that kind of ties into the Mets playing better baseball, but also having a bit of an easier stretch on the schedule, while the Yankees faced off against 3 playoff teams and lost all 3 series. Like, I think that some of it has to involve context. The Yankees have had the much tougher schedule over the last week and change.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that for sure. There's no question about that. Yeah, so we'll leave it at that here. A lot of times when people just looking at the standings, they don't actually go in and see who they've actually played or who they've actually faced off against. I think that's what, you know, kind of separates things. We'll go over to the other 2 teams in the AL East division, at least, of the New York Yankees, and that's going to be a series between the Blue Jays and the Red Sox. Looking at the starters for this game, I am currently seeing it will be okay, why Rodriguez doesn't help me at all. Let me go to his full name. Yariel Rodriguez for the Toronto Blue Jays. It'll be Cutter Crawford for the Boston Red Sox. Looking at the lines for this game, the Red Sox are a minus 162 home favorite here, plus 136 on the money line for the Blue Jays. Total is at 9.5 in this game here, Scott. What are your thoughts on the Jays and the Red Sox?
Forgot to mention, by the way, for the Mets game we just talked about, Marte's on the IL. So they're going to be missing Marte. So I wanted to mention that, forgot about it. For this one, Crawford, I said, I think a month or 2 ago, that he was falling off a cliff and the regression was alive and well. And damn, he's been really bad. for the last couple months after being incredible in April. But I do have to point out, though, that the Blue Jays just cannot beat this team. We saw them blow another game yesterday because their bullpen also sucks. So, maybe the Blue Jays and the Cubs would be best friends because they can't close out any games. So far this season, though, the Red Sox are 4-0. Toronto just can't beat this team at the end of the day. I think that I like the over in this game because I don't trust Rodriguez, or I also don't trust Crawford in this one. But until Toronto actually beats this team, I'm not going to assume they're going to beat this team. It just seems like Boston is a bad matchup for them because they steal a bunch of bases. None of Toronto's relievers can hold runners on. The bullpens stink anyway. And Boston has just, in my opinion, a better constructed team based on chemistry. Toronto's got talent. Feels like nobody's producing. There are rumors now of Vlad Jr.'s open to a trade to the Yankees after he said he'd never join the Yankees for his entire career. So, yeah, Toronto's kind of falling apart right now, and I want nothing to do with them. And your best player is now open to joining your arch rival. I'm not saying that he's going to go to the Yankees, but when your best player is saying that and saying the key words of it's a business, that means your team's probably about to blow it up. So I don't want to back Toronto. I'll go with Boston. As a Yankees fan, it hurts me to say it, but I really like this Boston team. They're fun. They're a lot of fun. They steal bases. They find ways to win. They have a lot of unsung heroes, is the words I'll use for this team. A lot of guys like David Hamilton, Connor Wong, guys you look at and go, who the hell is this guy? And you're looking up and they're producing. Even Rafael in the 9 spot. I just like Boston's roster construction a lot more than I like Toronto's. And the manager, we don't think is any good for Toronto. The bullpen's terrible. The lineup's been underachieving for pretty much the entire year. I'm going to go Boston. If you want to take Toronto, maybe a team total over. Fade the bullpen entirely, maybe first 5, and you just hope that they piece together with Rodriguez. I think Crawford's going to struggle, and I think Rodriguez is going to struggle. But if this game is close in the final 3-4 innings, I am not backing Toronto's bullpen. That's not an option for me. I'll go with the Red Sox, but I like the over in the game as well.
Yeah, and it's just also the fact that Rodriguez, I mean, he gives up a lot of contact and he's given up the runs. I mean, take a look at his last 3 starts that he's made. 2 of them were against the Royals. He gave up 3 and 4 innings, 3 runs overall, 2 earned in 3 2/3. And his last start against the Guardians in Cleveland only lasted 1 1/3 of an inning. 4 earned runs. He gave up 5 overall, and walks were concerned in that game as well. In fact, over his last 3 starts that he's made, total of 8 walks that he's given up. So if the Red Sox are able to stay patient at the plate, get some guys on base, they can really produce runs that way. And, you mentioned this a lot, that this is a team also that likes to run on the base and steal bases. Cutter Crawford, a stat that I did find, especially at home where he has struggled at Fenway Park, the over in the first 5 innings at least is 7-1-1 in the 9 starts that he's made at Fenway Park. So that just goes right into what you mentioned about the over for this game between the Jays and the Red Sox. So just fade both pitchers, take the over, which is 7-1-1 in the first 5 innings, or if you even want to go full game, couldn't talk you off of that for Cutter Crawford and Rodriguez here. So first 5 over for me, and then full game over. I would agree with you there as well. Next game on the schedule here, we'll go over to St. Louis. We've got the Braves that are visiting the St. Louis Cardinals. Chris Sale gets a start here for the Atlanta Braves, and it'll be on, I think it's Andre Palante for the St. Louis Cardinals. Looking at the lines for this game, the Braves are a -184 road favorite here, +154 on the money line for the Cardinals. Total is at 8 in this game here. Scott, what are your thoughts on the Braves and the Cardinals?
Yeah, I'll keep it simple. I'll back Sale and nobody else. Just give me the Braves first 5 -0.5. I think Palante's horrible. I think we'd agree that he's not exactly a good starting pitcher. I think his ceiling is being average. He's not very good. Sale's been great. There's no way around it. He's probably going to be a series candidate for the NL Cy Young. Right now it's Ranger Suarez, obviously, but you're looking at Sale's numbers. 10-2 with a 2.91 ERA. The Braves just find ways to revive people's careers. I don't know how they pull it off, but Sale's been great. And I think that after shutting down the Yankees' last outing, he's in line for another good one here. The Braves lost the opener, almost came back in the 9th inning, but didn't do enough to get the job done. But Palante's not any good. We saw him get roughed up against the Giants. I think he was in the neutral site game, and he ended up not pitching well. But I think that Sale's going to pitch well in this one. Give me the Braves first 5 -0.5. Might be like -140 or so. I don't mind it. I just think that they're going to be up after 5. So I think the Braves win the game, probably on the run line as well. But I'll just go with Sale, and I think he's going to pitch well.
Consistency is just what's been for Chris Sale. I know his ERA is slightly higher on the road, but his ERA at home and ERA on the road have both been sub 3, and that's pretty great for Chris Sale after where he was in his career dealing with all the injuries. It's just interesting to see that if he still was with the Red Sox, where this Red Sox team would be, because they really don't have that frontline starter on the Red Sox rotation right now, other than Tanner Houck. And
yeah,
go ahead.
Well, no, you're going to say Houck's been solid. I was going to say, ironically, Sale's worst start of the season came against the A's.
Yeah. But yeah, like you mentioned, he's been solid, right? 10-2 on the year, 2.91 ERA. The area he does get into trouble, I guess, where most of his runs he's given up has been in day games, but this being a night game where he's 7-1 with a 1.53 ERA. So it's pretty simple. I mean, you mentioned, right? If you want to take full game run line with Chris Sale, or if you want to take the first 5 inning, couldn't talk you off. Lonte has been absolutely terrible. I think his last start was really, really bad for the Cardinals. And so, yeah, we'll leave it at that. I mean, not much more to say here with Chris Sale on the mound here for the Atlanta Braves. We'll get over to the next game on the schedule. We'll go over to a 8:11 Eastern start time. The LA Dodgers, they are in Chicago to take on the White Sox. Gavin Stone getting the start here for the LA Dodgers. So it'll be Eric Fedde for the Chicago White Sox. Dodgers are a $2 favorite here, -200, +168 on the money line for the Chicago White Sox. Total is at 8.5. In this game here, Scott, I'll mention the run lines because anytime you do want to bet the Dodgers, you just want to do it on the run line. -1.5 is -128 for the Dodgers here. What are your thoughts on the Dodgers and the White Sox?
So this is where I thought the line would be with Crochet pitching yesterday. Even though Crochet is great, I thought -115 was absurd. And I thought that, the Dodgers would be around -180, give or take, if I had to price it myself. Sure. Dodgers are -200. Fedde's been good too. So it kind of tells you how much respect Crochet's getting in the markets, because Fedde's been a respectable pitcher, 5-2, 3.05 ERA, and he's basically 70 cents better of a deal than Crochet was, which I think is kind of disrespectful to Fedde. I think the Dodgers are going to sweep the series. I think the White Sox are an atrocious team. We know this. The Dodgers are injured with Betts being out, but Ohtani's picked it up. Freeman's been solid, and we saw them win 3-0 in the opener yesterday. The issue is the same. The White Sox bullpen stinks. Yeah. I mean, you saw Crochet pitch very well, give up no runs in 5 2/3, and the White Sox bullpen immediately imploded. Fedde this season at home has been incredible. So far this season at home, 38 innings pitched, a .95 ERA. He's been nuts at home. I think Stone's fine. I don't mind the first 5 under in this game. I think you're going to see a low-scoring start. But the second that the White Sox bring in the bullpen, the circus starts. So I'll go with the Dodgers alive when they pull Fedde, but I don't mind maybe first 5 if you want to go for the White Sox. I do like the first 5 under, though. I see a very low-scoring start to this game. But once again, when Fedde gets pulled after 6 innings, then have fun with your Dodgers alive team totals.
I mean, you nailed it. Fedde at home has been absolutely fantastic for this White Sox team. And he's faced some pretty good offense. Like, yeah, the Orioles in there, the Guardians, it's the Rays, Royals early on, back when they were actually hitting the baseball back in April. But he's been solid. I mean, look, 6 starts at home for Eric Fedde, 4-0 with a .95 ERA. He's only allowed 4 earned runs in 38 innings pitched at home. That's absolutely incredible for him. So he'll be put to the ultimate tester, even without Mookie Betts in the lineup for the Dodgers. We'll see what he can do against his Dodgers lineup, which I think, a lot of us agree that it's really top heavy. And now without Mookie Betts in that lineup, you're moving some of the guys up like Will Smith into that 2-hole. And I saw a game where they had Jason Hayward batting cleanup. And not that he's been bad, but they also have to move up Teoscar Hernandez, who's actually ripping the cover off the baseball as well. But yeah, I think that you go first 5 innings on the run line here. You probably get a decent price on that +0.5 for the White Sox in this game. Then after that, like Scott mentioned, when the bullpens come in, that's where you probably want to bet the Dodgers live. But I mean, the numbers speak for themselves for Eric Fedde at home. Like I mentioned, in the first 5 innings alone, he's 4-2 straight up. 5-1 straight up. The under is a perfect 4-0 in this first 5 innings. So the opposing teams are only averaging half a run in the 6 starts that he's made at home. So first 5 innings would be the look here for the White Sox. And like Scott mentioned, as soon as you see him get pulled, go bet the Dodgers because that bullpen has been absolutely atrocious for this White Sox team. So a couple different ways you can attack this one for the Dodgers and the White Sox. All right, next game, on the schedule that we do have lines for. Let me double check this. This will be the last game we do have lines for. That will be the Minnesota Twins. They're in Arizona to take on the Diamondbacks. Woods Richardson for the Twins getting the start here, and be Ryan Nelson for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Twins are a slight road favorite here of -116, -102 on the money line for the Diamondbacks. Total is at 9 in this game here, Scott. Twins and D-backs.
So I think I'm going to lean to the Twins here. I think that they're the better team, simply put. But Nelson has not been good at home this season. 5.74 ERA at home. Has been good lately, though, in general. He has given up less than 3 earned in 3 of his last 4 starts, including each of the last 2. However, no disrespect to the Nationals, I think we'd agree that they are still a below-average team. The last 2 starts were against the Nationals and the White Sox. So I acknowledge the good numbers recently, but I'm also taking it with a grain of salt. So I think that with that being the case, Minnesota can potentially have some success against Nelson. Nelson does not strike out really anybody. He had 8 strikeouts against the White Sox, which is an extreme outlier. I want to just go through the strikeouts recently for Nelson. He's had less than 6 strikeouts in, I got to actually pull this up. What is that? That's 8 of 9. That's 10 of 11. He's had less than 6 strikeouts. So he doesn't really strike anybody out, and I think Minnesota, even though they do strike out a lot as a team, can definitely create contact against Nelson. And with Lewis being a home run machine when healthy, with Minnesota having some offensive talent, I think the Twins have some value here. I think that the price feels a bit off, giving Minnesota.
Couldn't talk you off. I mean, Nelson's been a guy that I have wanted to fade when he's at home, and the numbers speak for himself as far as when it comes to, the contact and the runs that he does give up at home in Arizona, where it is, again, a hitter's ballpark. And just to compare the numbers, not that he's been any better at on the road as far as giving up runs, but 4.64 ERA on the road, 5.74 at home, despite having a 3-1 record where the offense has bailed him out in some of those games. So, Twin side for me, lean towards the over in this game, but more so I would be on the Twin side as well for this game. The last game on the Wednesday card is between the Cubs and the Giants. I think the Giants, at least from Monday, Tuesday, and the Wednesday game, are going to have like a spot starter. So we don't know who the official starter is going to be, but for the Cubs, it is going to be Shota Imanaga. And he's had his struggles as well over the past couple starts here. But do you have any thoughts on this game for Cubs and the Giants?
I think the Cubs will be favored with Imanaga on the mound.
For sure.
At the end of the day, I'm not sure what the price is going to be, but it's kind of the same story that we've talked about with, because they can have all the leads they want. They can't close games. And we saw it again last night. They brought in Drew Smiley as a last-second, prayer for a save, and he eventually walked the winning run in. But I just had a hard time fully backing the Cubs for an entire game. I don't mind first 5. In order to blow leads, you have to have leads. I know that sounds pretty simple, but I'm going to keep it real. If you're looking at baseball games being 7 innings, the Cubs would actually be a very good baseball team. Like, they just can't pitch in the 8th and 9th inning. So I think with that being the case, I'll go with the Cubs first 5. The Giants, I still think, are a below average team. They're kind of average. Like, I don't think that they are, amazing or bad. They're kind of streaky. The Cubs, though, they were playing better baseball, including yesterday, and then they wasted another Steele start. I feel bad for Steele. Still has no wins, and he's actually been solid this season. But the point is, I'll go with the Cubs here first 5. No chance I trust the bullpens ever for Chicago, and the Giants' bullpen's not good either. So if you maybe want to go for a live over, once Imanaga gets pulled, I don't hate it, but the Giants are doing their thing they did last year, which is not naming a starter and trying to BS their way through games, and I just have a hard time backing it. So I'll go with the Cubs first 5.
Yeah, and I think that come Wednesday, this bullpen is going to be really taxed because they have so many injuries to their starting rotation. and they're just trying to piece it together, like you mentioned. So this might be the start where the Cubs can take advantage. I mean, that's a bold statement, ask them to do that, especially with all the struggles that they have had, not only closing games, but also scoring runs. But Imanaga in his starts this season, he's been really solid in the first 5 innings, right? In particular on the road, 4-1-1 straight up. On the run line as the favorite, 4-1 straight up, 1-0 as a dog in those first 5 innings. So, I mean, case in point, another example last night on Monday night, I should say, where Justin, and I was actually listening to this game, and Justin Steele was, I think he went through 7 innings. And again, like you mentioned, that bullpen just came in and just coughed up, and he hasn't been able to record a win just yet, despite being absolutely fantastic thus far this season for the Chicago Cubs. And he's really turned around over his past several starts. So I know he got into a little bit of trouble, but yeah, first 5 innings again for me, run line for the Cubs would be the way I look here. I think that the Cubs, I think this is an opportunity for them to where they're going to face a very taxed bullpen for the Giants there. So once we find out, this will probably be closer to game time, maybe a couple of hours, find out who's actually getting the start, or maybe an opener, and then we'll see again that the bullpen coming for the long stretch of the game there for the Giants. So we'll leave it at that. All right, so that is the last game on the schedule for Wednesday. Scott, let's get into our lock and dog, and then we will give out our home run picks for the Wednesday card. You want to lead us off?
Yeah, sure. For the lock, it's difficult because there are a couple of games that just have no lines, and I want to take maybe a first 5 play. I don't know if Braves -0.5 on the first 5 is going to be like above a certain price range for me to take, because they're about -190 in the full game. First 5, I mean, would be what, like -145 maybe?
Yeah, I think maybe if you shopped around, you could probably find something lower. But yeah, let's just call it around -140 for the first 5 innings run line. You said run line or money line?
No, run one. I'm not going to go with money line. That's going to be an insane price.
It would probably be around -130, -140 range.
Okay, so I'll back that. Once again, apologies if it ends up being like -150 or so. Apologies, but I don't have a line in front of me. I see -180 though, -185 on the money line, so it actually should be in the 140s. But I think that Sale's going to pitch well in this one. He's been great on a regular basis, besides the one blow-up start against Oakland for some reason. You're looking at the Cardinals, though. Palante's been a mess. You mentioned it before. Even though the Braves did lose the opener, there actually was room for optimism, though, because they almost rallied from down, I think it was 3 in the 9th inning. So they were able to end the opener on a bit of a high note despite losing. Palante, though, to go through the last couple of outings, he does have a 5.65 ERA at home. He gave up 5 runs in 5 1/3 against the Giants last time out. He doesn't go much length anyway. Point is, I don't think he's very good, and I think that the Braves might be able to actually get over the finish line if they end up getting 2 in this. Like, you might end up seeing Sale only give up 1 run. So give me the Braves first 5 -0.5 a run at potentially -140, but once again, we'll see what the line actually opens up for the first 5. For the dog, I actually think I might go for it, but I am wondering if there's anything else I prefer. I mean, Fedde first 5 is interesting, but I don't think I'm going to pull the trigger there. I think for this one, I actually am going to go with the Nationals. I'm going to sell on Sale on Cease here.
Mm-hmm.
I think Cease is too big of a favorite at around -190, give or take. I just think the line's insane. The Nationals bullpen, yes, they blew the first game. I know hers was really bad last start. It was in Coors Field. To give him a bit of a pass there. But I think for the sake of the line, 190 for a team with no Tatis, good luck with that. Like, I just can't take it. For value alone, the Nationals have been solid in the underdog role. They almost cashed the opener with Corbin on the mound yesterday, and then the bullpen blew it. But I think for the sake of this matchup, 160 is a pretty solid price against a team with no Tatis. So give me the Nationals money line at +160 as my dog.
Yeah, couldn't talk you off. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of first 5 that we talked about today that we really, really like. And unfortunately, there's just no lines from them out right now. And I'm still scouring if we do have lines for them for tomorrow, but they usually pop up closer to in the morning of the day of the game, actually. So yeah, we'll leave it at that. All right, for my lock, I'm gonna go to the game. I'm gonna go to the hometown game here. I'll take the over 8.5 in this game. Just fade both pitchers. We talked about it. I don't think Arrighetti should be warranted as a minus 196 home favorite. Feltner hasn't been very good as well. Astros offense has been pretty good. I think the Rockies can also get some runs off of Arrighetti, who's just been absolutely atrocious, like we talked about. So this number is a little conservative at 8.5. So give me the Rockies, Astros over 8.5. Yeah. For my dog, nothing real. I mean, I want to get there with the White Sox in the first 5 innings. That's definitely going to be at a plus price with Eric Fetty. But there's not any other dogs that I really do like outright, or not even on the run line either.
You actually might even get White Sox plus a half in the first 5 at plus money.
Yeah. So I will definitely be betting it in the first 5 innings for the White Sox. So I'll give that out. That's definitely going to be at plus money. So if you want to split a unit on the run line plus half, if you're able to find the plus money on that, and then the money line for the first 5 innings for the White Sox, again, with Eric Fetty on the mound. And we talked about the numbers of how great he's been at home. And Dodgers offense, we talked about, they're a little bit compromised right now, obviously, with Betts being out. So you're relying on some of the guys in the bottom of that order to come up, where I think that bottom of the lineup is really vulnerable for the Dodgers. So Eric Fetty and the White Sox, I'll take a stab here. Worked out well for me when I played them against the Astros last week. So hopefully I can make it 2 weeks in a row with the White Sox first 5 in the money line. Excuse me. So plus half a run and then money line as well, first 5 innings White Sox. So that'll be my dog. All right, Scott, let's give out our home run picks for the Wednesday card. Who do you like to leave the yard?
So there are 2 that I'm tempted by. I just have to figure out which one I want to go with. Because one, I think the price is going to be very cheap. Because it was going to involve the Houston game. And Feltner's given up home runs, so I thought about going with him. No home runs allowed, though, in 2 of the last 3. The other was actually fading Nelson, who's been good recently. And the question is, do I want to go with the obvious one and potentially Jordan, or do I want to go with one that has been really good lately that I still think his price is a bit too high on? I think for this one, actually, I'm going to go to the desert. Give me Lewis from Minnesota. I just think that at the end of the day, Royce Lewis has been incredible so far this season. When healthy, he's an absolute machine. I don't know what his home run pace is, but it's absolutely disgusting. And when healthy, he has been unbelievable. So far this season, he's played 18 games. He has 10 home runs in 18 games. The guy's an absolute savage. And I think that Nelson has given up a decent amount of home runs recently. Let me quickly pull up what his home run numbers are. But I did look at it when we went through the game initially, and ended up seeing that he has been giving up a lot of home runs. Sorry, just have to pull this up for a second. But anyway, point is, I'll go with Royce Lewis. I'll mention the numbers in a second. But I do think at the end of the day, with him being this good, and just based on his overall numbers this season and very limited sample size, I'll keep backing him. He's an absolute machine, and Nelson has a home run issue. So give me Royce Lewis as my pick.
All right. I hate going chalk here, but we talked a lot about.
Are you going Jordan? Because I thought about it.
It was either going to be Jordan or it was going to be Aaron Judge. Okay. Judge has pretty good numbers against Sean Manaea in his career. 12 at bats, 5 hits. 2 of the 5 hits have been home runs. 917 slugging percentage. So I'll go with Judge. It's probably going to be very, very chalk price, probably below plus 300. But Sean Manaea, you just take a look at the number of home runs that he's given up in his past, I think 5 starts. He's allowed at least 1 home run in, 5 out of the last 6 starts. He didn't give up anything to the Rangers, but he gave up 1 to the Padres, 2 to the Phillies, 1 to the Diamondbacks, gave 1 to the Giants, the Marlins as well. So now you have this type of offense, with Juan Soto, with Aaron Judge there. I think it's a good opportunity for Judge to get another one here off of Sean Manaea in the day game where you'll have warmer temperatures. Ball will be flying a little bit as well. So I'll take Aaron Judge. Hate being that chalky pick, but I think it's a good opportunity for him to leave the yard for the New York Yankees.
By the way, I pulled up Nelson's stats. He's allowed 5 home runs in his last 4 starts. He's allowed 7 home runs in his last 9 starts. So he's been consistent with it. I don't know how many home runs he's going to allow in this game, but if there's one guy that's going to go a yard for Minnesota, it's probably Lewis because he's been incredible when healthy.
All right, there we go. That's going to do it here for this edition of the MLB Gambling Podcast. Scott, anything else you want to mention before we get out of here?
No, not really. I know Terrell and I did a WNBA episode for the one game tonight, Commissioner's Cup game. Feels weird, though. We have no hockey anymore. NBA ended, so we got WNBA and baseball. So if you want to bet on sports, you're running out of sports to bet on besides baseball. So you might as well check in.
Yeah, definitely the dog days of the summer now as we all are awaiting football, but still WNBA. Make sure you guys check out Scott and Terrell. And then obviously with baseball here, we'll be here at least 5 days out of the week, 6 days out of the week, I should say, to get you guys going for the baseball season and get you through the summer months here with only a couple spurts going on. Make sure you guys follow Scott on X. That's at Reichel Radio. You can follow me there as well at SportsNerd824. More importantly, make sure you guys subscribe to the MLB Gambling Podcast YouTube channel. If you haven't already, left us a rating and review. Hopefully you can do that for us, whether it's on Spotify, whether it's on Apple Podcasts, or wherever you do get your pods. And also leave your picks in the comments section. Want to hear what you guys are betting on. Lock, dog, if you want to give out a home run pick as well. Definitely would be curious to see what you guys are also betting on. All right, I will be back tomorrow in some form or fashion with the rotation of hosts that we do have. Same time, same place. So look out for us then. Till then,
one thing.
Oh, yeah,
sorry, one thing I wanted to add. If you are interested in NBA content, I believe Lonte and who is it, Moneyline?
Oh, yeah, we're doing a pod right after this, yeah.
Yeah, so check in if you want some NBA stuff. The draft's starting tomorrow, and the NBA Gambling Podcast having an episode. Sorry.
Yeah, so if you're watching live, good reminder there that we'll be going live in about 10-15 minutes for NBA draft. So Moneyline Mac of the college football and basketball and Big 12 experience joining us as a guest, and then Lonte, who's been knee deep as well in the NBA draft, putting up mock drafts and all that together. We'll be going live here in about 10 to 15 minutes if you guys want to switch over to the NBA channel there to come join us there. All right, we'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Till then, good luck with your bets. Let's break these books off and let it ride.